One of the hardest decisions she'd ever made, of course, was not getting treatment for her cancer, but that she had this deep faith and that she had this value of going on to the next life and her belief system of seeing her parents and seeing people who have passed before her. And she said, I'm at peace with this. I'm at peace. And she had a tumor the size of a basketball right here. She had those little grabber things that you could pick up stuff from the floor because it was like she was 9 months pregnant, but it was a tumor. But remarkably, she had no pain, not an ounce ever. And I didn't know if that was because she had such deep faith or she had such a positive attitude, but she never experienced any pain. And I asked her about that, and I asked her how she was doing in this nursing home, where literally the floor of the nursing home that she was on, she was the only resident that I could identify on that floor that did not have dementia. She had cancer, she didn't have dementia. And so she had a new role in life in the last few months of her life, and I called her the hall monitor. So she was rolling around in her wheelchair, helping residents with dementia back to their rooms when they couldn't find their way, right? So she's like, hey, it's given me some purpose. This is fun, I got a job. Who knew at 78 I was getting a new job? Again, I was just struck by her positivity and her attitude. When I was in her company, I just longed to have even a fraction of the grace and acceptance that she had and when she was living with this disease. And I wondered, I wrote it off to someday if I ever get cancer, I hope I'm like Trudy. I have a whole list of people. If I get dementia, I hope I'm like this person, right? So on what I guessed would be my last visit to Trudy, based on her declining condition one day, we discussed her impending death and her thoughts about what happens next, what she was hoping for in the next life, if there was one. And we talked about her faith, and she was excited for the next great mystery, as she called it. She was like a little kid delighted that it was almost Christmas. Again, this attitude that was just incredible. And so I mustered up the courage that day, and I said, could I ask you a favor? And she said, what's that? And I said, when you get to heaven, can you say hi to my dad for me? My dad had died almost a year before. And I thought, hey, if there's a good courier right here in this woman, right? And I said, could you say hi to him? And she said, I'd be glad to, honey, if he's anything like you. So some might call it coincidence, but I think there was more of a divine plan unfolding when she died peacefully 3 days later on the 1-year anniversary of my dad's death. So when I remember my papa every year on that day, I remember Trudy. And I am confident that she delivered my message to my dad in style.